Hello and welcome to this video about the Fujifilm X-T4, which is actually filming me right now in the classic negative profile, and the XF 23mm f2 prime lens. I took both of these recently on a trip to Palma de Mallorca, where I shot a bunch of photos in strong daylight. So let's go to some examples right now. So I'm switching over to my voiceover voice, just to let you know that you can pause the video at any time to check out the photos, because I'm going to blast all of them pretty quickly in this section. I'm also going to give you some pointers about the settings I used to take these shots. First up with the film simulations, I shot these all in Provia, which is the standard profile, color profile on Fuji cameras, and then I applied the film simulations in X RAW Studio, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I think the film simulations that I gravitated towards were primarily classic chrome and classic negative. And then a few of them I left as Provia or used some of the more neutral film simulations like Pro Neg, Standard and High, for example. So with most of these photos I stopped down the lens to f4 or f5.6 just to get the right exposure so that I got some reasonable shutter speeds. Because even in some cases, the 1/8000 shutter speed wasn't enough for some of the higher contrast, bright light scenes. So recently I've been using the Fujifilm X-T4 with the film recipes from Fuji X Weekly, which means I've been shooting straight out of camera JPEGs in most cases, meaning that there's no post-processing. I bake the look into each shot and just get the JPEG out. But for this trip to Palma de Mallorca, I decided to do things a bit differently and went back to shooting RAW with the goal of then processing the RAW files in X RAW Studio, which uses, basically it's a software front end for the X-T4's RAW development settings, and I love that about it. So what this meant in terms of settings on the camera is that instead of just using a certain DR value, a DR percentage, which I did before, either I was going to the max with DR 400%, or sometimes, you know, pulling it back a bit to DR 200%. In this case, for this trip, I primarily used the dynamic range priority option, and I set it to auto. So interestingly, in bright daylight, bright sunlight, which is where most shots were taken, the DR value that the dynamic range priority setting picked was generally the 200% one, meaning that the lowest ISO it could go was ISO 320. It's true that with some of the low light shots, maybe that changed, but I was really pleased with the output of the RAW files actually, because often when I shoot with classic negative, which is a film simulation that I really like, I find that the shadows are a little bit too strong. There isn't that much detail. I'd like to pull out a bit more detail, or I feel that there's, you know, the highlights are kind of very crispy, let's say, and the shadows are very crushed. Maybe that's just the way I shoot. But I noticed in some low light situations, by using DRP or dynamic range priority, I was actually able to get a more balanced look when shooting in classic negative, which I thought was really interesting. So I think I'll be using continue using this setting a bit more and seeing how it performs in different situations and different scenarios. But anyways, back to the photo examples now. Alright, I'm in voiceover mode again, and here you see some examples of those low light shots where I thought that the DRP settings did quite well to balance out the scene. In these shots I opened up the lens to f2 to get the most light that I could, and then also let the ISO climb up to 1600, even though higher would have been fun too. In terms of the subject matter, Palma de Mallorca has a lot of opportunities to shoot faded holiday architecture, which I really like. I know it might not be to everyone's taste, but this is something that I'm really drawn to, photographing, so I love this opportunity. So thank you so much for watching today. I think that will do it for this video. If you'd like to see some more photography videos of mine, I'll put a link in the description to the relevant playlists so you can check those out. In the meantime, have a great day and take care.